May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. So nice to see you all here, and also to have it not be 95 degrees. And speaking of summertime, I am absolutely terrible at any game that involves throwing. Frisbees, softballs, even beach balls. And it's not that I can't throw a frisbee. I grew up in the 1970s, the heyday of frisbees or a ball. It's that I get up in my head. You all know what that's like? And I start getting anxious that people are watching me, wanting to prove that I'm good, convinced that people will think I'm terrible, kick me off their team. And so my throws go wide or short or just completely kerflooey. We are an insecure species, we humans. We posture, we strive, we seek acknowledgement, and hardest of all, we have so much trouble trusting that we are, all of us, intrinsically worthy of love, intrinsically worthy of love. Instead, we base our worth on our accomplishments and our belongings, even going so far as to claim our worldly security in wealth and status as blessings from God. I sometimes wonder what would happen if Jesus came as a dolphin Messiah instead of a human Messiah. They'd be like, right on, preach it, Jesus. A choir of joyful clicks, confidence, splashy play, no stuff to posture over, no status to assert. Humans, on the other hand, we're like, prove it, Jesus. Give us a sign. What do you know? You don't have the right pedigree. What good comes out of Nazareth? But he's from Galilee. Or you're breaking the rules, or they're breaking the rules, or that's not fair. And even among the disciples, once they finally start to trust, so, Jesus, who is the greatest among us? Or, now we'll show those other people. From the very first stories in the Bible, we find mounds of insecurity in our human forebears. We're prone to being tempted into discontent and taking that which was not meant for us. We become so jealous of our brother who gets more praise than us that we become murderous. We attempt to make a name for ourselves by building the biggest building ever, reaching up to heaven. We get so focused on being acknowledged for our work, our accomplishments, on chasing worthless things, as it said in our Old Testament passage today, that we fail to celebrate God's love as it shows up for others, for our siblings, and even for ourselves. To see any love as a sign of God's love for all of us. It's like we think that there's this limited amount of that affirmation and love, and we have to fight for it. Prove ourselves worthy, jostling and striving and posturing for the best place at the table, like the people in today's gospel were doing. We're skeptical, we're even hostile to the idea that those who don't deserve something get it. Skeptical and hostile, despite the fact that the core of our faith is based on us receiving love and forgiveness that we absolutely do not deserve. Because much as we may want it to be, it's not about deserving love. It's about being God's beloved, no matter what. For God so loved the world. For God so loved the world. A few days ago, there was a flurry of texting on our family group between my 3 kids. I bet you all know what that was about. They're all in their 20s. Well, one's 30. super excited that some of their student loans would be forgiven. And I'm sure many of you also saw the buzz on social media and in the news. Accompanying the celebration has been a flurry of, "It's not fair." Economic implications aside, because that was not the basis of these arguments, it has been like a modern replay of the parable of the prodigal son, or the workers in the vineyard. There's a great meme on Facebook that says, "The older brother grew very angry. I worked hard to pay back all my loans, but this son of yours, you forgive his loans." The father said, "My son, you are debt-free, but we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was buried in debt, but now is forgiven. He was dead, but now is alive." In our insecurity, we find ourselves always on alert, watching to make sure we get what we deserve, that no one disturbs our status, that we are acknowledged for our effort. They were watching him closely, those Pharisees, keeping an eye on that guy who might disturb the whole status quo. And in our insecurity, we constantly miss the mark. We sin. That's the Greek word for sin. Harmatano. What does it mean? Miss the mark. And in walks Jesus, our rock, our redeemer, our coach, and offers us true security, the security of absolute beloved, telling us that all are worthy. What? All are loved. And Jesus is inviting everyone to the banquet. In this gospel, a kind of tricky gospel, Jesus echoes a Hebrew proverb from Proverbs 25, one with which the affluent Pharisees who'd invited him to this dinner, likely to suss out his status and what they might stand or gain to lose from their relationship with him, that they would have known very well. It goes, "Do not put yourself forward in the king's presence, or stand in the place of the great, for it is better to be told, 'Come up here,' than to be put lower in the presence." Well, I can just imagine them all standing around and going, "Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I forgot about that proverb," calculating how they can use their false humility to increase their status. But then Jesus, our Jesus, takes it a step further. When you give a banquet, he says, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you. For you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. When we base our sense of self and security on our status and belongings, we're stepping into a game of posturing, striving, and jealousy, an exhausting game. We mistake wealth and status for blessing, and poverty for a curse. But wealth is not a blessing. Be grateful for it, yes, but it's not a blessing from God. It's a responsibility to ensure that the abundance gets shared. And poverty is not a curse from God. It's an indicator of humanity's insecurity and irresponsibility. Our true security, no matter our wealth or our status, is the deep acceptance of God's unequivocal love for all. It is the knowledge that we are, every single one of us, worthy of love, and that every single one of us belongs here. All are invited to God's table, to the banquet. So celebrate one another, share with one another, connect with one another, love one another, and let's not worry about who's watching or how good we are or what seat we're in. Then, in our support of one another, we can focus on the love, throw a little truer, and maybe have our own choir of right-ons and preach it, Jesus.